Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the RDY Set Podcast. My name's Ricky,
My name's Angus.
and today we have a really special guest. He's a very close friend of mine. He sometimes he goes by, what nicknames do we have for you in our fucking group chats?
Dude, where do we start? The fish?
Yeah, sometimes we call him the Donny Fish. Sometimes we just call him the Fish.
Yeah.
His name is Dr. Donny Mackintosh. He's a very good friend of mine. Hey, Donny.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So, Donny is a chiropractor. How long have you been practicing for? It was like pretty recent, right?
Yeah, it's been, I'd probably say, a year and a half now.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
I graduated in the summer of 2021.
Yeah.
Came back here, then had to fly back to Montreal, wrote board exams, then another 3 months. So then I started practicing in about October of that same year. So yeah, but it's been a year and a half, I'd say. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Have you, Angus? Have you ever taken or like seen a chiro?
Probably like once, maybe like twice,
Yeah.
2 or 3 times.
Oh,
I kind of want to start doing it again.
Mm.
But like, what's the difference between a physio
Yeah.
and a chiro? I know you get that question a lot,
That's
right?
funny. Yeah. That's funny because like in school, we'll have exams when we'll walk into rooms and
Yeah.
they're like actors or scenarios. And that's one of them. Usually it's like
Yeah.
a family doctor or some other professional.
Oh.
And they're like, hey, I see we have mutual patients. What are you providing to my patient? Why should I choose you over physio? So like, what's the difference? And honestly, it depends on the person. Like if you talk traditional chiro values, sometimes appointments are like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's like crack this, crack that, see you in a week or whatever.
Yeah.
But like if you look at my style, honestly, if you look at me and a physiotherapist, we have a lot of overlap. There's like some small differences. Like even physios would do like the joint manipulations, which is like the cracking and popping, right? What I do is like I'll do a lot of manual work as well for like muscles and immobilizations, but also a lot of like strengthening, conditioning, and rehab. Because I tell people all the time, like cracking or popping or even massage, it's like taking a cough drop for a sore throat.
Yeah.
Like it'll make you feel better and it has its place, right? But to actually treat the root cause or to actually get some long lasting, like good results is by having the area to be strong and supported. So that's what I kind of say. It depends on, it's honestly like person to person now, which is a little bit frustrating. There's no like standard, like if you're a chiropractor, you treat this way, or you're a physio, you treat this way. You kind of have a lot of lenience in what you can do.
Oh.
You know, obviously there's a scope that you have to follow because that's just law. But for the most part, there's a lot of freedom. So that's how I practice. But, you know, everyone's a little bit different. So some physios will be a little bit more consistent, but chiro's a little all over the place, I find, which is a little unfortunate, right?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different chiros throughout my life. Some chiros where the appointment would be like 45 minutes and they do like some sort of I don't know, was it like ultrasound or whatever, or some sort of like
Ultrasound.
some sort of whatever therapy, like
Okay.
radio waves. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah, like it depends. Like there's ultrasound, like that's probably what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't really make a sound or anything. Sometimes there's shockwave. Like
Yeah,
I use shockwave at some of my clinics just because it's good for like stuff like anything like tendon related. Like I'm thinking like a rotator cuff or like Achilles or like, you know, tennis elbow, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of those things I find kind of kill time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, that's what physios kind of harp on a little bit too. It's like they'll stick you in a room and put like the TENS or the IFC, like the muscle stim on the back and just leave you there for like 20 minutes. And you're just like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got another 20 minutes. Are we gonna do something?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like it's different, right?
Oh yeah. So like some of them will take a pretty long treatment time.
Yeah.
And then I've been to other chiros where it's like you go in and then 5 minutes, crack your neck, crack your back, like
That's it.
pull some random limb, and then it's like, all right, see you. All right.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
But do you find it helps though?
Oh, I feel so good when I get the pop though.
It's like a new body.
It really is. It's like a little bit of that endorphin rush or like adrenaline.
Because you're about to die. Oh, I'm still alive.
Like just on the edge.
I know.
The rush, man.
Have you had both types of chiros before?
Like the bone cracking one, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I've been to. Yeah. Like usually I go to physio.
Yeah.
But I want to start doing more chiro now because I find like physio can only do so much. I do all this stuff, but because of my injury, I popped my disc before, so I bulging disc, and it's never 100%.
Yeah.
And then physio's like, you know, you're on the right path, blah blah blah. They always say that, and then I do all the homework.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't. I'm at like the 60. I would say like sometimes even like 70-80%.
Okay.
But to reach like the final point, like I can't really get there anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, even like I do pre-activation, make sure I do mobility, work on my core so that I can get that nice strength so my back doesn't pop again. Yeah. But even then, like, I still feel it hitting that nerve sometimes. And I don't know if chiro will help. But physio, like, they do the same thing. They do dry needling. I prefer that. It just helps loosen my back a lot. But yeah, they don't really. It gets to a point where I'm just like, okay, doesn't really do much anymore. Yeah. But yeah.
I find like that's like an example, like IMS or dry needling. Like that's chiros can't do that here in BC.
What's IMS or dry needling?
So IMS is like intramuscular stimulation. Essentially, it's like having needles to target certain muscles. Like I shouldn't really truly be answering this because I'm not like certified in this or know anything, but like I have a basic knowledge of it. The idea is you like stimulate a muscle directly, right? By putting like an external stimulus in it. Obviously it's like a sanitized clean needle and it goes into the muscle and it'll like grab or twitch onto it, right?
Like acupuncture kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's similar idea.
But they go like this. They constantly go in and out with the needle.
What?
Yeah.
It's like fucking penetration like on
Yeah. So it's supposed to make it like squeeze onto the needle and helps it relax a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works.
Have you tried that treatment before?
I've had it done before. Yeah. I've had it done before with like my knee rehab and it's a very odd sensation, but some people will say it feels really good. I personally feel a bit sore after, but then feel good, maybe a couple days later. It's a little tender, but it does help. Yeah. It's not going to be cut and fast. Some people respond really well. Some people don't, right? That's what we find with like a lot of different treatments.
Right. Everybody's a little bit different.
You can't give a cookie cutter approach. That's what I like about my job, at least, is that. And if you do give a cookie cutter approach, I'm not talking down on anyone, but I feel like you got to put more effort into it, right? Because nobody's going to respond the exact same to treatment. Like if we're having someone like you, Angus, who like lifts a lot and knows a lot about their body, and I have somebody who's like a sedentary office worker. If I give you like glute bridges and like some stretching for your neck, you'll be like, could have gone to YouTube, man. Like where's the professional advice here? Versus like the office worker's like, damn, this works. I love this, right? So like, I like that approach. I feel like putting effort into it and having it be to meet your patient's goals. Like that's what you need to do, because I always really appreciate when somebody comes to see me, they're spending their time and money. So I want to make sure I give them the best product they can have, right? I don't want to waste their time. I feel like almost like not guilty, but I feel responsible.
Yeah. And everyone's different too, right? So
totally.
So have you cracked Ricky's neck?
Well, I don't think he can say because of like patient confidence.
You can't.
But I've seen Donny a few times. Okay. So he was really helpful, and it was like I think my first time ever seeing Donny, he gave me a really interesting example. It was like where I was talking about like so a long time ago, actually my first chiropractor ever, he was a friend of mine. And he was like examining my back, and I had some lower back issues. And then he said that like my lower back was like twisted a little bit or something like that. It was like left and right all over the place kind of thing. And then Donny was like, yeah, that's not possible. Something you said that like any sort of bodily injury, like football players, is like just a huge shockwave is required to do some sort of damage. Or what was that thing you said? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a I shouldn't say a misbelief, but it's a common belief lots of people have all the time, and maybe a professional will kind of like put that idea into their head, which I think is kind of damaging. I really don't like mentioning the body to make it feel so fragile. The idea Ricky's getting at is some people will feel like, oh, like my back is out of alignment, or this hip is out, or this rib is out. And in all reality, the spine of the body is such a strong part of our body. It has so much connective tissue, so much muscle that it requires a great amount of force in order for something to be dislocated. So like me doing treatment, even if I wanted to, it's not possible. And my example is kind of like Ricky saying like, oh, maybe this is out. And I'm like, I really doubt it. Because like, look at hockey players, football players. They're taking forces and hits way harder than anything I'm delivering in treatment. And guess what? I'd expect Elias Pettersson on the Canucks to have a huge scoliosis, but guess what? It's pretty fine, right? So then if you're going to use that same logic that I'm moving bones and joints with such little force, I like to practice a lot of common sense. So that's one I always say, because then people become afraid to move or to bend. Like I need to do everything with a neutral spine, and this, like your spine needs to bend in everyday life, like sitting on the toilet or whatever, riding a bike, right? You're not always like this neutral board, right? Just I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a dangerous narrative to kind of teach people to be so careful and fragile about their body, when moving it and strengthening it is actually very therapeutic.
You say that as you have like really good spine posture right now. I was like,
no,
just sitting so fucking straight up.
Tighten your core the whole time. You're like,
and the thing is, like, I always catch myself too, and people are like, you have such good posture, but you should see me sitting at home. I was always thinking, like, if I look over here at the camera, I'm going to be sitting like this the whole time. And guess what? I don't care. All the listeners out there, posture doesn't matter that much. Be comfortable. That's my best advice. Be comfortable. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably gonna go to Cairo after this.
Yeah, like depends where you go. I always say it's kind of like, that's the one thing I like about, or I should say don't like about being in the profession, is that there's not a lot of consistency. What I always tell patients is, like, you can come see someone like me who I think is pretty reasonable, and I'll tell you as it is, or you can go into some office and there'll be like incense and like low lighting and magnets and candles, and they'll tell you how your aura's off and that we need to realign it. And guess what? Pay $3,000 up front before we start for the next 8 weeks or whatever. So
they have a crystal, they tell you to touch it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always like,
what time were you born?
Yeah, and like there's a lot.
Oh man, your spine is messed up because of
Yeah, it's like, oh boy, you better see me 3 times a week for the next month. And guess what? You know, like at the end of the day, it always boils down to like, why do they want to see me so much? Like, that's a lot of money. Like, okay, makes sense when you really kind of think down to it. So I feel being genuine with people and just telling them what it is. Usually, it's like just gaining trust and a reputation that you're not gonna just like after it for the money and whatever. It's that's like putting the patient first, right?
That's true. I guess like from your position, it is. Well, it sounds shitty, but it is not hard to ring somebody out, because like immediately they get gratification, but then you want to have a regular person so that you get a consistent stream of revenue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it is like in like more morality aside.
Yeah,
like it is good to have like a regular so that they always see you and not fix them all the way kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'd say I'd go against that again.
Yeah,
just I truly don't believe in that. Like people are like, oh, like some patients will even mention like, I'll see you for the rest of my life. I'll be like, okay, like if you really want to, but I'll be straight up with them. I'll be like, I'm trying to get you better. It's like you come in here, it's like you go to a physio, you go in there for an injury. Why are we any different? We should be treating the injury, getting people recovered, and then letting them go.
Yeah.
Right. So I say that all the time, like I'm trying to get you better as quick as I can, because one, like you say, Ricky kind of mentions in the short term, sure. Am I turning away a bit of business? Yes. But I'm trying to build trust in people. And then how many times are you going to re-injure something or have a new complaint? Who are you going to go back to? The guy that was like, oh yeah, you better come back in. Like just a few more visits, man. I promise. Versus like the dude who did a good job and he's like, go, leave me alone. Like go back to Donny or go back to this guy. He's really good. And then, you know, if your friend's like, man, my back's killing me. It's like, I know a guy.
Yeah.
I kind of compare it to like an auto mechanic. Like I know jack shit about cars. If I go in there and I know my oil light's on and I go in there and the dude's like, yeah, like you got a leak here. Oh, but Donny, also your brakes are shot, man. Back suspension shot. And truly it's not. He could have been like, yeah, I noticed there's a little bit of wear there. Keep an eye on it. Right. But, you know, I'm only going to fix what I need to fix. That's the kind of approach I want. Right.
Yeah. There are some like, really good mechanics out there. And I think the very good comparison is mechanics, right?
Because when you don't know something about a profession or your body or whatever, you're putting a lot of trust into whoever you're seeing. So I think that's like the most important part. Yeah.
Like what got you into chiro?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, and this is my story behind it. I did my undergrad was at UBC and I did kinesiology. So, you know, it's just like coaching, strength and conditioning, anatomy. It's pretty much like a very base degree that kind of exposes you to a lot of areas. I always knew I wanted to work in the rehab sciences, like, you know, physio, OT, chiro, whatever. I applied to schools and I got into the chiro school in Toronto, which is Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College. And I had to accept the offer before all the other schools came back because this school is private. It's not part of like, you know, an affiliated university like U of T or UBC or whatever. So I accepted it. And I have never really agreed with traditional chiro values, if you can't tell already by not. I just got the degree mainly because I like working with people in that capacity. So like, you know, I'll do some joint manipulation here and there with some patients, but there's plenty of patients I don't do it at all. And they get better the same or quicker. Right. But yeah, I guess to answer your question is like, I've always just liked working with people. I kind of probably mentioned with Ricky, it's nice when you're working to recover through an injury or whatever, you know, you're doing diagnostics and you're really focusing on it. But there's a lot of dead time when you're just treating someone. You could sit there and be quiet, or you can just like chat with them and have cool conversations. And it's a social job, but it's also a job that I'm interested in because it's, you know, problem solving. It's thinking all the time. It's every day is different, which I like. So just the challenges with that make it fun. So it's not like, oh yeah, same old shit every day. It's like each day there's going to be a different problem, right? And somebody's progressing really quick, and maybe somebody's kind of stalling, and when you figure, okay, well, I thought this would be easy. Why isn't it helping? Why do they still have this symptom? What's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of like the field of work, I guess. Mainly, I've always been interested in sports and athletics and things.
Right. It's sort of like interesting profession or form of therapy, because there's so many myths involved with like chiropractic care, right? Like some people, you especially like you see videos on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, where some guys like cracking somebody's neck and they're like fucking suplexing them or whatever, right? But yeah, can I ask you some questions and you could debunk that myth or like whatever?
For sure.
Like, okay, let's say for example, one of the most common things is like cracking knuckles or cracking your neck or your elbow or wrist or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's what is it? Like I always hear people say, oh, it releases some sort of gas or whatever in between your knuckles, and it's like it feels good because of pressure or something. What's that about?
Yeah, so we can get really scientific, or we can go layman's terms.
Let's go layman's.
So I tell people all the time when they come in, because especially like first time people to a chiropractor, I can always tell like they're a little bit nervous or apprehensive. They'll have questions. So I'll ask them like, have you ever had it done before? Because sometimes they'll do it themselves, or sometimes a friend will do it or whatever. Like a bear hug kind of pick up.
Oh, it feels so good.
And some people are just like no. And I'm like, well, do you have an understanding what's happening? And they're like, well, no. And usually, or sometimes people, the common one is like, aren't you like shifting something like back into place? Isn't like the joint out of place and it goes it's back into place? But I was like, fair, logically it makes a lot of sense, because then, why can I move better afterwards? But yeah, to get down to it, when you look at the spine, at least, the vertebrae that stack on top of each other going up, there's joints on either side, and they allow us to, to bend, to twist, to flex, whatever. These joints are synovial joints, which means that they have a capsule, and inside them there's some fluid. So when a joint is irritated, or when it becomes injured and it's sore, those joints aren't really moving as well as they do, or like the muscles are guarding, the body just doesn't want to move because it's sensitive. Putting a bit of pressure on it will cause that cracking noise. And inside that fluid, essentially a gas bubble forms and then collapses on itself. The example that I give, that's not a perfect science, but it's pretty close at least, or it's close enough that people kind of get it. It's like when you open a can of something like Coke or beer or whatever, and it goes and gas comes out. Very similar thing that happens with the joint. So then afterwards, there seems to be like within the literature, it's still kind of a mixed bag, but there's obviously temporary pain relief and increases in range of motion, probably due to because it's not as sensitive, it's not as painful, that they'd feel like less guarded moving around the area. So that's what's going on. Like nothing's being shifted, no scar tissue's being broken. It's simply literally a gas bubble forming inside fluid, and then it collapses on itself again. They've done like MRI and like ultrasound studies on the joints of the fingers, and they show when people pull and distract it, you'll see a little pocket form and then collapse. It happens really quick.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, like, and parents when you're younger, even mine, are like, don't crack your knuckles, don't do this, you're gonna get arthritis, right? Yeah. There's been like, that's been debunked a long time ago. I think parents just do it because it's an annoying sound, and maybe some people are grossed out by it, right?
Dude,
but yeah,
I always thought that.
I always thought you get.
Yeah, I know, and it makes sense too, because you're like, I'm like doing something to my joint over and over. Maybe it's gonna wear it down. Yeah, but no, like there's like people out there that have like done self studies on themselves. Like they'll crack their knuckles a regimented amount of times per day, every month, and they'll do routine X-rays and imaging, and there's no changes. So yeah.
So it's fine to like always just crack your knuckles? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say, and especially people tell me like, oh, should I crack my back or this? I'm like, does it give you relief? They're like, yeah. I'm like, go for it.
Yeah. So like a lot of times I have like tension in my neck, and I'll just like twist my neck in a way, and it cracks. It kind of creeps some people out, which makes sense, right? It's like your neck, right? It's very sensitive.
Yeah.
But then, so you're saying it's okay to crack my own neck as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. There's been like some studies out there that show like, for example, when you treat a neck, right, whether you put pressure on it, whether you crack it, whether you move it, there's an association of force on the neck and stroke. So those risks would still apply when you do it yourself versus when I do it. But still, for like, it involves health complications and medications and certain diseases and past injuries that might influence the risk of that being higher or not. Also, age is a big thing. But for someone like you, I'd be like, crack away, man. Like you're good. Don't worry about it. You got the green light.
The green light.
That is not advice. That's not medical advice.
Obviously,
this is hypothetical.
Yeah. Wow. Did you have any like weird myths about chiro?
No, it's the arthritis thing.
The arthritis thing.
I always thought that it gives you like cracking. I thought it would always give someone arthritis if you do it a certain amount of times, or if you do too much. And
yeah, what I even say too is like, arthritis is kind of like, it's almost like, I shouldn't say demonized, but it's like people are really like afraid of it.
Right? Yeah.
People are like, do you think, like I have older people being like, do you think my back pain is due to like my discs wearing away or my joints wearing away? And it might have an effect on somebody's back pain, but at the end of the day, I don't even like using the words like degenerative arthritis.
Mhm.
I call them like normal age-related changes. Like everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
And some people, like, for example, if you interview all the people above 60 in BC, not every single one's going to say they have back pain,
Yeah.
but they all have degeneration in their spine.
Yeah.
So it's not black and white. Sure, it can definitely have an influence, but it's not the be all end all.
Mhm.
So people think like once I get older, I'm destined to have back pain. That's not the case.
Mhm.
So it's kind of important because some people will be like, should I get x-rays? I'm like, well, yeah, you can get x-rays and then you might be creating like a problem out of nothing. They're like, oh my God, look at the space in these discs. They're so much lower than my mid back. Like, oh my God, that's why my back hurts. And they start imagining all these symptoms and start, like manifesting it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I think it's, it can have an effect on back pain, but yeah, arthritis, I think to kind of answer your question a bit is it's going to happen to everyone and it's normal. Like it's not,
Okay. So I'm 32 this year.
Yeah.
No, 33 this year. But
Yeah.
So you're saying that there are people that are older than 30 that do not have back pain?
Definitely.
What?
Dude,
I can't even.
Dude, I'd put my whole
30. I can't even imagine 50.
Dude, I put my whole TFSA on black. No problem. I'd bet on that.
Yeah.
I'm not confident. I'm that confident.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Because I have back pain.
Yeah.
You have back pain.
Everybody I know has back pain.
Yeah.
I'm 30 already. Oh shit.
But that's probably because of like misuse, right? Like using like lifting wrong or slouching too much or just stuff like that, right? Just improper use.
Yeah, and that's like a big question I get all the time. And it's a hard answer. And honestly, the answer I give, it's not satisfying. People hate the answer. And I say it depends. Because yeah, like sometimes we'll have back pain because of a very clear incident. Like I'll have some people say like when I'm like lifting really heavy, like trying to PR a deadlift and like on the down, like instead of dropping it, they're lowering it down and they feel that strain.
Yeah.
And some people be like, no, they'll like deny it. Like I've never had a moment like that. And now my back pain just creeped up on me. Back pain is like multifaceted or multifactorial, meaning like multiple things can influence how we feel and perceive pain. Meaning like an obvious one is like injuries, current injuries, past injuries. Genetics and there can affect people's like sensitivity to pain thresholds. So people are just generally a bit more sensitive or prone to certain things. Stress and mood and sleep is such a big one. What I always kind of say is like when we're stressed or in a bad mood or don't get enough sleep, it affects how we feel. And like small inconveniences become major inconveniences and then pain is elevated. So sometimes I'll be treating someone and they'll be like, yeah, actually I'm going away to Florida. I'm like, great. Tell me, like, pay attention for me. Do me a little bit of homework when you're away. Just see how you feel. And they're like, Donny, you're right, man. Like I was away on vacation at the beach and they were like dealing with something like maybe chronic knee pain or hip pain. And they've had it for years and it never goes away. Like I never felt it. I just wasn't thinking about it because they're in a good mood and they're not stressed about their daily routine and deadlines and whatever and taxes, right? They're just doing their own thing and it's nothing. And then they're like, when I landed in YVR back on the tarmac, like I felt my back pain come back. And they're like, you're right, man. So like sometimes like that, it's like just the realization that like, it's not going to be necessarily like lifting form or posture or whatever. It can be like mood, like people with like anxiety or like other kind of mental stuff that can have an impact on, how we feel in certain situations. And, when we're more comfortable, we might feel a bit better, but when we're nervous or when we're dealing with external stresses, it can elevate that pain level. Right.
Sure.
Okay, I have sorry, unless you have one, but I've got another question like to debunk for myths.
No, I was just gonna say we should go on vacation, man.
We do
need to go to the beach. That'll probably cure my back.
A little bit about Wreck Beach here.
It's an expensive treatment option, but it's a popular one, I'd say.
So I've always heard people say like don't use the really soft beds or whatever, like go for slightly more firm, especially with Asians. Like have you ever felt like the infamous
I got
brand,
a hard ass bed when
Seahorse?
I was
young. Is it a Seahorse?
Yeah,
brand?
it's a Seahorse.
Have you ever heard of the Seahorse brand bed? It's
no,
like
explain it.
It is the creme de la creme of beds for Asians.
Okay,
especially like
I'm learning something today.
And this bed is so firm, and like
you can get a bruise from it.
Yeah, it is so firm. It's almost like wood, but like a tiny bit of foam on there. And it feels good though.
Might as well just sleep on wood.
Yeah, I have heard it's good for you if you just like
no
sleep on the ground
Hell
once in a while
no.
for your back.
Yeah.
Anyway, Donny, firm versus soft for beds, like well, what is better for your back, and what about like sleeping on the floor once in a while? It is good for you, I heard, right?
I don't know.
Oh shit.
This is another question where people hate my answer because they always come to me and they want me to tell them black or white, like firm mattress or soft mattress. It's so dependent. For me, I love a firmer mattress. Whenever I go to hotels, Airbnbs, sleep in beds.
They suck.
If it's cushy and soft, dude, I wake up and my back pain kills me.
Yeah.
And normally day to day, I'd say I'm lucky enough. I deal with a little bit, but I'm pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm on a bed that I'm not comfortable with, then it kind of flares up on me. So what I always say at the end of the day, it's comfort. Same kind of thing with posture. It's like whatever feels comfortable. Because like for posture, a bit off topic, but like if you're like, oh yeah, shoulders back, head up. After a while, you're like traps and rhomboids are like, dude, like I'm burning. Like how much longer do I have to hold this for?
It's like a workout,
right? And then like you kind of like if you're hyper vigilant on it, it kind of just
Yeah.
makes it more of a problem than it needs to be. So like kind of similar idea of mattress. What I always say to people is like you got to try things. You know, I kind of advise like buying stuff off like companies you know you can have a return policy on.
Mm-hmm.
Like some beds like ND or Casper, not sponsored, but you know the
Yeah.
DMs.
Not yet, we'll
but
see.
but yeah, I mentioned your products. But yeah, they have like try policies, you know, like 30 days or like I think maybe even 90 days, maybe it's 3 months, something like that. I'm like, try it and see, because there's no such thing like that's gonna be something that's secretly working behind the scenes in terms of like sensation that's gonna affect your back pain. Like if something feels good, it's not gonna be like a negative thing. If it feels good or comfortable or even just neutral, then it's usually fine.
Yeah.
But if something feels uncomfortable, it's probably contributing to a little bit of aggravation in terms of pain, right?
Mhm. Do you still have a seahorse mattress?
No, I don't. I wish I did. It's so expensive, man.
Really?
The seahorse mattresses are really
Was it like
expensive.
a grand
Over that, yeah.
for a
Like-
hard ass bed?
Yeah. Some of them can get up to like $3,000 for those seahorse
What?
brands. Yeah,
To get bruises,
it's so good though.
I can
No,
think of
no,
Bruise
no.
is so good.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't feel
Because
good.
those also like you can flip it over and it has like a different level of
A
firmness.
harder, even harder.
Yeah, or your So those are super good. But you know what? I have like a $300 whatever mattress like from Amazon.
Yeah.
And those are the ones where it comes like super vacuum sealed,
sure.
and then you release it, and then you wait like 2 or 3 days, and it
Kind of like
unrolls
unwraps
a
itself.
little.
Yeah.
And I've used it for a few years, and it's really good.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Then keep
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You save yourself like $700 rather than buying a seahorse mattress or whatever.
Yeah, and I get a bruise with it
It's
too.
so
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ever since like I got like a decent one, or
Ooh.
not even decent, just like a one that's not seahorse. I'm like, oh my god, these are clouds I'm sleeping on.
This is the first
This
time I
is
heard this
heaven.
thing. Like, what is this? Like seahorse mattress? It sounds like it's like a one-off torture device.
Yeah. Seahorse.
Like soon, like, yeah, seahorse mattress picked up like 10-year contract of Canadian prisons for like sleep deprivation trials. Maybe we should edit that one out.
It's super comfy though. I don't know. It's like it hurts so good sometimes.
Do they even have a store here?
They do. Yeah. It's there's one store on like
Kingsway?
Rupert and Kingsway or something like that.
It's still there?
Yeah. I
Oh
think,
my
I think,
God.
I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's where I got mine when I was young.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm gonna do some research now. I think people are gonna ask me about it. They're
Yeah,
gonna be
you
like,
should.
dude, like if I hear seahorse, I'm like, I know what you mean. They're like, oh, you know.
You should go feel
Like,
it.
I know.
You should go feel it.
I'm not gonna experience it. I'm good where I'm at.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth the money.
Yeah.
$3,000.
But it's popular with like the Asians,
Asians.
right? Because they like the firmness.
because
Okay.
they believe the harder the bed, better for your back because it's straight. You know?
Is that the same kind of logic? Like TCM is like the medicine has to be super bitter because it's like healthy medicine. I've heard that before.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, I
like
think
like
it's
the
kinda
medicine, like
that.
the more bitter it is, the more potent it is, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
versus like, you know, if it tastes good, kind of like if you get Pepto-Bismol, it's like cherry or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, man, that's just sugar. It's like you need some real medicine. I've definitely heard that TCM. It's like
Yeah.
the bitter herbs, the way they prepare things. It's like supposed to be healthier in kind of that kind of sense.
Yeah, I think that's why like Chinese herbal stuff is so bitter.
Well, it's
so
all
bitter.
roots or like random things, right? Like they don't add sugar. There's no point. It's just it doesn't
Like
add any
grind
It's
it
like
up.
all medicinal herbs,
Yeah,
strictly.
It's strictly
Yeah.
medicinal. It's not
Yeah.
to make anything palatable.
Yeah. North America, there's like cheeseburger, cough syrup.
That's why there's like because when I was young, I was always into I enjoyed blueberry Dimetapp, I think it was, or was it grape Dimetapp?
Mm.
Like you're supposed to take like a spoonful,
Like the cough syrup.
yeah, the
thing?
cough syrup.
Yeah, I'm a grape
But then
enjoyer.
I would like put it into water, like a full cup of water, to like slowly drink because I was really enjoying the flavor of
It
it.
was that good.
I liked it.
Yo,
Damn. You were pouring up lean before it was cool.
Sounds fucked.
Yeah.
That's why every day was a good day.
Yeah.
What other like what really annoys you about your profession, Donny?
Oh man, like how long do you want this podcast to be?
Oh shit. Okay, well let's just say your number one, like
Top
Right.
top one.
yeah.
Yeah, my biggest one is like the underutilization of like active care.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't like to, like, at the end of the day, people always think that I really hate manual therapy, but I think it has its place. But like if somebody just treats you like just like hands-on treatment and tells you to come back and just keep coming back, I think there needs to be a plan in place. Like having an active care plan and a plan to reach goals is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it's like I'm looking for an increase in function, or like I want a specific goal. I'll have a patient tell me a specific goal, because rather than just going off how you feel each day, as I said before, it can be influenced so easily. Like if somebody's studying for exams or has a breakup or whatever, like their stress levels are going to affect their pain. And then it might look like we're having a regression in progress when I might be looking for like range of motion or strength or something like that. But like having a plan for someone, like working in the short term to maybe calm down symptoms of manual therapy, and then really space it out and give them like a really comprehensive exercise plan to focus on when they're on their own. Like all patients I'll see like, yeah, I might need to see like once a week for the first couple of visits. Then I'll check in with them once every 4 to 8 weeks. And I'll just email them or even call them and just have like, just check-ins like that. Like I want to continue to do a little bit of virtual care.
Wow.
When I was in school, I was able to do a bit of virtual care, and I'm taking some like courses on it right now, because I think it has a lot of value. But yeah, stuff like that, just like being able to like actually progress someone rather than just have them be like that lifetime patient. That's like my biggest thing. I'm always just like person will be like, this is the best chiropractor I've ever been to. I've been here for the last 6 years. I'm just like is he really that good if you're still there?
Yeah.
Like, is she really that good if you're still seeing her after like this year? It makes me wonder like why, like they might make you feel good for a few days, but you're not reaching goals. You're just kind of stagnating and almost like coaching into like chronic pain.
Yeah.
It's like they're becoming reliant on you to make them feel better. They don't have strategies to manage it on their own. That's like my biggest pet peeve. And at the end of the day, like other people are going to practice the way they practice, and I have no right to tell them what to do. But you know, I'll stay in my own lane. At least you know, I control what I can control. So that's what I focus on.
I think Angus, you are very diligent at like following a plan from a professional on how to achieve goals or get better at whatever, right?
Yeah. Especially when it comes to fitness, like I really do like everything. Yeah. Even like more, just to make sure I do my homework. Make sure I'm able to make up for whatever I'm lacking if it comes to like core strength, to make sure that I don't my back is there.
Sure.
Mobility work.
Sure.
So I really like do all the homework, but sometimes when it hits that point, you're like, I'm doing everything, but where's the recovery? Like, it's the same thing. Like it's going nowhere. I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Like I'm always coming back. I'm like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're really good at that.
Yeah. So whenever I encounter that issue, I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Like, probably need to find another physio or another solution.
Yeah. And like, I think that way too. It's like, if you're progressing and things are getting better and better and better, whatever you're doing is working. But the minute you stagnate, it's like, whatever you've been doing was good, but you reach this point now when you have to do something different. Yeah. Right. Because I'll have patients like the exact same way. They'll come and see me and they'll be like, yeah, I've seen other chiropractors, but like, and I'm like, what did they do? Because I want to know what they did. And they did this and like, yeah, and I felt okay, but you're still here because you're wanting something different, right? You want to break through that plateau or work towards something different. So it's the first question I always ask them, like, what have you tried? What's worked and what hasn't worked? So if you tried something for a while and then at one point, you know, you've kind of plateaued, if you keep doing the same thing, why are you expecting all of a sudden to break through? It's like, man, come on, man, a couple more weeks. I promise, man. It's like, no, it's like, I tell patients all the time, I'm like, be honest with me. Tell me what works, what doesn't work. The minute something's not working, we need to change it up. And I'm not afraid, like, you know, you have to have humility sometimes. Like I had a patient earlier and it's like, you've done everything you can and something's improved up to a level. I'm like, go try something else. Yeah. I'm like, cause honestly, at this point, I don't think you seeing me is going to be, you know, I've tried everything that I thought would work and it's not working. So I'm like, try a different, you know, modality of care. Like try acupuncture, maybe massage, maybe you want to go to physio, or maybe you want to focus strictly active rehab. Because at that time I'm like, I feel bad. Like I don't want you to keep coming to see me if you're not getting better. It's like, go see someone else.
I am Donnie's like kind of worst nightmare. Like as a patient, I am after that miracle pill where I could get like a couple pops or cracks, and I want to just be like,
I'm a new man.
Yeah. Like I hate doing whatever recovery at home, like whatever stretches or exercises. He's given me so many. He's actually always gets me like, well, actually I was like, I stopped going to him. Like I didn't need to afterwards. But like I'm after that solution where it's like quick fixes or whatever. And I think I'm your biggest nightmare.
Yeah. You get a lot of patients like that. And what you got to realize is that you're not just going to like shove your mantra down their throat. You got to meet them in the middle. So I tell people, I'll be honest with them. I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you some stuff, but maybe they're like giving them 5 exercises way too much. Right.
That's way too much.
So I'm like, let me give you 2 and like, please meet me in the middle. These are going to be like the most value, you know, bang for your buck exercises. Please do them because I can only do so much with my hands. Right. And then, you know, once those become easy, then we'll still keep it at 2, but we'll swap them out for something more challenging. Because sometimes, you know, you gotta read the room. Like, you know, maybe if I treated you, for example, you'd be like, yeah, man, let's try it. I'm ready. But some people don't want to do that. There's like, I work, then I go home and I see my kids, and then I watch some TV and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't play soccer. I don't go to the gym. I don't do this. And that's fine. You know, they live their life, but you got to meet them in the middle. You can't they're not going to change their lifestyle to meet you. That's one thing I've definitely learned a lot in practice. When I first started, I'm definitely like gung ho. I'm like, this is the only way. And if you're not doing it, you might as well not see me.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God.
And like, cause you know, maybe I was like too honest. And then at that point,
they're like, I like you.
You're
You're honest.
and they're like, I want to see you, but I don't think I can do what you're asking.
Yeah.
So now I've kind of learned like, well, let's see if we can meet in the middle,
Yeah.
because what I want is maybe too much for you, and what you want, I don't think is going to be value of your time and money. So it's like, let's be realistic and try to meet somewhere in the middle and have a compromise.
Nice.
Yeah. So like, that's one thing that I've definitely learned, because you can work with people that'll do whatever you say, and it's like, it's great. It's a dream, you know, they'll follow up everything. But then there's people that are, you know, you got to compromise with them. That's fine, because not everybody's going to be like that. So
Wow.
Modest, honest,
Humble.
yeah. And humble. I'm the best, by the way.
Wow, I've learned so much.
Yeah, me too. I'm probably gonna come to you after this.
Yeah, like honestly, I work at a couple clinics, and one of them is like there's a couple physios and a couple chiros, and people honestly say like, who do we see first? And we're like, doesn't matter. Like, we're all going to treat you the same.
Yeah.
That's why I like working at certain clinics. You have that model of care,
right,
where it's like truly between professions. Like, you asked me, what's the difference between a chiro physio at this clinic? There, I don't know, maybe a little bit of just certain exercises we prefer versus other approaches, but we say like, yeah, you're going to get the same kind of care here, right? Yeah.
Okay, well, can you probably let me know where can I find you?
Yeah, absolutely.
like which clinics are you even allowed to?
Yeah, I don't have no problem. Yeah. I work for two companies. The first one is called Peak Form Wellness. We have one office at Commercial and Broadway, and we have a second one in Burnaby at Metrotown, which is on like McKay and Kingsway.
Yeah, across from Metrotown, like across from like Crystal Mall almost.
Yeah, and that's where I first started and really started to hone my skills and get better. So it's a great opportunity. I love working there. This newer clinic I work at, one of my friends that I met at UBC actually owns it and started it.
Oh, nice.
So when I was applying for my job at Peak Form before I got hired there, I messaged him. I was like, hey man, like, because I have him on Facebook and stuff. I'm like, I see your clinic, like everything's going pretty well. And then I saw he had job openings.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, you know, let me shoot him a message. But long story short, I already took the job before he got back to me. He's like, well, let me know next year, you know, because we do contracts and things. So then, you know, fast forward, now I'm here. That one's called Couve Health. Okay. It's right beside like the Broadway City Hall Candleline Station. It's at Broadway. It's in between like Alberta and Columbia, I believe. It's just a little bit east of Canby. Okay. That one there, yeah. You know, I'm all around the place with my work. I'm here on some days and around there other days, but those are the two clinics I'm at. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm probably gonna hit you up after this.
For sure, man.
Get the info, like know which day you're working, so I'm like, okay,
totally. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here to help. Yeah. We already have a head start on your work.
I know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for educating us on this, like
totally
debunking so many myths. And for our viewers, let us know in our comments if you have any questions about chiropractic care, and maybe we could get the answer for you.
Sure, happy to do that.
Yeah, we'll
absolutely.
See. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, Donny.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Yeah, you can like, subscribe, hit that notification button. We're on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all that stuff. It's all in the link tree. And then we'll wrap it there, and we'll see everyone on the next one.
Nice.
All right. Bye.
Bye.